Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the World Juniors preview from the Leafs Line podcast. If you're new to the channel, it's a Leafs Line podcast. We got World Juniors content, as you can see right here. We got some NHL content in the past, Leafs content in the past, and you can find it all on dynastysportsnetwork.ca. Type it into your web browser. Look it up on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you think is social. We're there. So search it up, dynastysportsnetwork.ca, Dynasty Sports Network. That is where a lot of content comes from us. And we're kicking off we're kicking off Latvia today. Sorry. So many teams, so many groups to talk about. Latvia is a second stop on our destination towards previewing the entire World Junior scene. I'll introduce myself again. Mara Russo, Evan Davis to my left, Jared Rotenberg, and Adamo Romoli. We'll be giving you some Latvia news, some Latvia things to look out for. And this team that has a lot of magic in the past, and I think that the biggest question is, will we see some magic stick around in 2022, 2023? Will they be playing in 2023? That is the question at large. But hey, they are back. Second appearance since 2017, third time in program history that they have had appeared in back-to-back top division tournaments. Unlike some other teams in last year's tournament, Latvia actually earned a second shot at shocking the world when they advanced to the knockout stage following a crucial win over Czechia in their last game of the group stage this past summer. What had the makings of being a miracle run, it did end in heartbreaking defeat in the opening round of elimination at the hands of Sweden. They scored a late third period goal to sink Latvia and avoid humiliation for themselves. Jared, I'm going to start with you on this Latvia case here. The magic, it was certainly embedded within last year's team. No question about it. They had a little bit of potential. They had the ball rolling. There was a lot of momentum in their side. And hey, they were kind of like the team favorites, if you will. The fans loved them. They wanted to see them succeed. At the end of the day, it did not happen. Would you suggest that some of this talent and some of this miracle run, do you think it's still remaining within this team? And is the skill within this group something that is prevalent with this team? Is this the tournament we see the well-run drive for Latvia, or is the tournament we see the magic still inch onwards? What do you got?
I would predict that the magic is going to run out in this tournament. I just don't see a lot of skill when it comes to this Latvian team. They have, I'd say, a shocking lack of NHL prospects on their team overall. I mean, they have no NHL prospects whatsoever in terms of their defensive core. Only 3 prospects on the forward end of the ice that are drafted to NHL squads. So in general, not a lot of NHL drafted talent, which, yes, it doesn't necessarily mean they aren't a good team. But at the end of the day, I just don't see a lot of talent on this squad that'll allow them to match up with the teams they're going to unfortunately have to play up against. I don't know why when I was talking about the previous team that you discussed, Austria, I got the two mixed up. I guess their flags are pretty similar. So I was basically saying the team that they're going to play in terms of Austria, I was reading out the teams Latvia is unfortunately going to have to play against. Unfortunately, Latvia is going to have to play against teams such as the US and Finland, and I just don't really see enough talent on their squad that's going to allow them to find success against those opponents in Group B. As well, they have some shining bright lights in terms of the net. They have a goaltender by the name of Patrick Berzins. He's a returning Latvian goaltender, and he's playing on a struggling team in the NAHL with a poor record, but he still himself, even with a poor team in front of him, has a 921 save percentage. So that's pretty good, and that could kind of be similar to the results we ultimately see in the tournament with a not so great team in front of him. The hope is that he could find some success in terms of his own personal numbers, but I still don't see his play being the reason that Latvia is going to find much success in this tournament. And yeah, they have a couple other players. I'm going to let the other guys speak on them, but in general, they have a few players to keep an eye out for, but not a lot of depth, not a lot I'm really looking forward to in this tournament, and I would be shocked if they don't finish last in their division.
Yeah, and I mean it's an interesting story with Latvia just because they have the skill and a little bit of experience to go to the knockout stage, but they also have that other end of the spectrum where it can go really south really quick. And we can see that starting to build up early on in the tournament. So I think those first initial games within the schedule for this team is going to play a big part in shaping the direction they're going to be taking. And again, there's only so many group stages you have to capitalize on to make sure you get to the knockout stage. Will we be seeing players step up to get them to a second consecutive knockout stage? That's the big question that a lot of people are asking. Dom, I was wondering if you can give me a little bit of insight on some of the players that maybe would be responsible in taking over the workload to helping them get to a second consecutive knockout stage, because that's the big thing for this team. If they can get to that point, I think that's a big building block. Not only do they advance to the next World Juniors, they also have a little bit of stuff to say. And like, hey, we got eliminated to probably a powerhouse at the hands of a powerhouse nonetheless. You could learn, you could take positives from that. But what are some of the players that will be carrying them to a potential spot?
Yeah, one guy that you should probably keep an eye out for is Dons Lokmelis. Sorry again if I pronounce your name incorrectly. He is a centerman, two-way centerman. He played in the SHL last year. That's the Swedish, top tier. Ignore my dog going nuts in the background if you could hear it. He
Big
played in the top
fan.
tier of Sweden last year. Just 2 games, but he was playing in the U20 league in Sweden where he was playing a game, and this year as well point a game. Um, he's going to be probably their first line center. I believe he's wearing a letter at the tournament as well as he's committed to UMass for next year. So you have a good little player here. And another guy to look out for is Martin Lavins, another guy committed to St. Cloud State, a pretty good university, playing the USHL right near about half a point game player. Again, he wore a letter last year at the tournament. He was wearing an A. Again, big centerman, gonna use his body, really quick player, and that's what sets him apart from his opponents.
Yep. And they got a lot of skill, some little skill. They got a lot of track records with a lot of their prospects. They're playing in prominent areas, places that they can get scouted. So there's a little bit of life in this Latvian team. I suggest the viewers at home or wherever you're watching, don't take Latvia for granted. They can
Mm-mm.
somewhat take a little bit of an inch. You give them an inch, they will most definitely take a mile. This team should not be run over. But at the same time, too, depending on how stuff plays out, there's a very different spectrum, like I was mentioning off the top, where it can either go really south really quick, or they can start clawing and fighting for some bigger results. And I wouldn't really be too surprised if we see a bit of an upset against one of the powerhouses, whether that be in the knockout or whether that be in the tough division that they are set in right now. Evan, I'll throw it over to you. What are the expectations like for Latvia? I know I was talking a bit about how there's two main ones, but is there anything we should really expect to see from this group? Ahead of puck drop, and they open up this tournament, by the way, December 26th, take on your guys' team, or Evan, your team, really, the U.S. So you're going to get a nice, juicy boatload of Latvian hockey to open up the schedule. But what are you expecting to see from those first time opposition?
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think that this could be one of the teams that could maybe make some noise in the tournament. They have a few guys that are committed to colleges out here in the states. We mentioned UMass is one of them. Lake Superior is another one that's another NCAA. St. Cloud State, and they've had guys that played in the NAL and the USHL, so they're kind of familiar with some of the talent that's going around, especially like specifically with the U.S. and some players in Canada as well. So they kind of understand what the U.S. way of playing is. But yeah, I don't know, the U.S., like, we always seem to have a tough time, like, where we just like play down to the level of our opponents, and like games like we win but like by too close, and then like just starts to stir things up. But I think Latvia could be a team that maybe makes some noise. I mean, curious to see what they do. They got a few goal scorers. I was looking at this one guy. God, I hope I Peterus Hermalius. Dude, I am so sorry.
It's gonna be a common theme on the
Please,
show. Don't worry.
please
Yeah.
We're
don't hurt
Canadians.
me.
Forgive us.
But he played in Sioux City. He's going to Lake Superior State in 2023. 20 goals in 41 games playing in leagues in Finland and Latvia. So I definitely think that this is a team that we saw surprise stories in the World Cup for FIFA. Why not see a surprise story
Yeah.
for the World Juniors?
And this could be a team that can absolutely take it. Jared, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more player that I kind of didn't want to read, expecting that maybe you guys would read it out, but because it wasn't read, I want to share some love to Emil's Vakakins. For sure butchered that name, and I apologize for that.
Please don't
But he
hurt us.
currently he currently has 29 points in 27 games for Lugano of the U20 Swiss Elite League team. And that's a player who I read a little bit of a scouting report on him. And he's a player who scouts to describe him as a guy with good size. He plays a strong physical game, but as well as a very strong shot. So, yes, I'm definitely not even as high on this team as the others on the Leafs Line podcast are, but I definitely do agree with your guys' sentiment that there is a little bit of upset potential there. Again, I don't really see it happening based on the teams they're going to have to go up against, but they do have their fair share of top players, not a ton of depth. But again, if those top players get hot, I wouldn't rule out any possibility of them potentially getting hot and going far in this tournament because crazier things have happened.
If there is a will, there is a way. We've seen it so many times in this tournament. Every year, it seems like there's that one surprising team. I believe Latvia was one of those teams that took that step last year. I can very well see them doing it
Yeah.
again this year. There's a lot of players. Quick predictions, gentlemen. Dom, I'll start with you. Where you got them finishing?
They are finishing ninth.
Ninth. Jared?
Yeah, I'd probably go ninth as well. Bottom of their Group B and pretty close to the bottom of the tournament overall.
Evan, what about you?
Ninth.
Yep. So we're all 9 across the board. Again, that doesn't really deteriorate from the fact that this team is continuously trying to pump out hockey players. They got a lot of skill. They got a lot of guys that they've been they remind me of Slovakia a little bit of in the fact that they're getting a lot of more exposure. Guys are going overseas and playing hockey. They're getting attention to the brand. So that's always a plus. Adamo, you mentioned that you have some betting predictions and betting odds for this team. I want to hear it.
Yeah, we'll just go really quick because I know we're a little pressed for time. But who do you guys? I'm gonna propose it to you guys. See if you guys would bet on this. We both have Latvia and Austria. Those are the bottom dwellers. I think that's it's set in stone. Would you take Latvia to finish ahead of Austria at 1.56 odds?
I don't even know what that means.
Would you like? Oh, you do American odds? 1.56. That's
minus 150.
Minus something. I don't have that converted.
Minus 135.
You win. You bet. What? You bet $3. You win $1.50.
Money's money. I would absolutely take that bet. I feel like they're a lot more. I feel like they're a lot more stronger. But that's just me. I think Latvia is in a much better place than Austria, considering Austria hasn't even gouged out a win in the last couple of years.
I'm not much of a betting man, but I agree. I probably would take that bet as well because I'm pretty convinced. I think Austria is pretty solidified. I would be shocked if they weren't the worst team at this year's tournament. So yeah, if I want to sprinkle some money on Latvia finishing above them, I think that's a pretty good bet to make.
Evan, what about you? You're the betting man himself.
It's not worth my money. It's not worth my money. I'm not sweating out Austria and Latvia, but I guess for the sake of this, I guess I take Latvia to finish ahead of Austria, but I'm definitely not putting money on it to sweat it out.
And it's interesting because we have Latvia having a bit of a miracle run we could probably see. So we all have them finishing ninth, but at the same time too, it can go the other way and we can see them pump out some decent results. That's the thing about these smaller teams. You either really know what they're going to be, or like Latvia in this case, it can go either or. But that does it for our episode here on Latvia. We're going to be going to Slovakia next. So stick around for that. Again, I'm Aaron Russo, Evan Davis, Donald Rowley, and Jared Rotenberg. This is the Leafs Line podcast. Stick around and check out the channel while you're here, man. We got a lot of Leafs content, a lot of NHL content. There's a lot of things happening on the LLP, just like there is on DSN. That is the Dynasty Sports Network. So take a peek. It's great content as always, and we'll see you in the next episode. So take care, and we'll see you soon.